joining us on Live with Squacky. I'm Val Kelly, otherwise known as Squacky Voice, and we have a very special episode this week. Uncle Roy Yokelson has been in the voiceover industry for over 3 decades. As a director, producer, and audio engineer, he has worked on countless projects for commercials, documentaries, corporate recordings, audiobooks, and so much more. Uncle Roy and I have known each other for quite a while now. I'd say at least 7 or 8 years. He's an outstanding professional and is an excellent coach, mentor, and friend. It's an honor to have you on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
I'm honored to be on the Squacky team. It's great.
Well, it's so exciting.
See, I have to start right away and correct you. I hate to say that it's over 4 decades. That's scary.
Oh.
That's scary. I know, but I think I put it out there as 3 decades because I don't want to be that old.
Well,
I'm young at heart.
So over 4 decades, my mistake.
No, you did the research right. That's what's out there.
Yeah. So, well, with over 40 years of experience as a director, producer, and engineer, you must have a great story as to how you got started. So, can you tell us about it?
And for those who have heard this story, I apologize. It started with Perry Como's Papa Loves Mambo. My father, I had a record player when I was 2. And as kids do, they play things over and over and over and over. And it drove my father crazy. And his friend said, well, put in a headphone jack. That'll shut the speaker off. So I had headphones when I was 2, and I was fascinated with sound. And then when I was 5, he gave me a tape recorder, and I was the kid on the block with the puppet stage in my basement. So we didn't know it was the right way to do it, but we pre-recorded on this. You've seen that, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is sort of how it got started on reel-to-reel with a little right here. This was a little orange bulb that would glow, and that was like the VU meter. And it was, my father likes to say, he wants me to give him credit, but he would take me to the cathedral and I'd hear the organ, and just sound is my passion and how to make sound better. So that's how it got started.
Well, that's a good start.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you are busy, busy, busy. How do you do it? What's your method for staying organized? Because I know that must be so hard with everything. You've got your hand in a little bit of everything.
I do. I wear many hats. I mainly use Google Calendar, and I swear by it, and I have it on my phone, and it syncs, and I put every little thing that I have to get done, I put on the calendar, and if it doesn't get done, I'll move it down. I'll move it to the next day. I won't take it off until it's done. And I know there are many more elaborate programs, and you could set alarms on your calendar and reminders and stuff, but it's a juggling act. And not only voiceover, but as you and many others are parents, and some have full-time other jobs. I'm just my hours are 25/8 because I serve both coasts and sometimes Europe and whatever. So just the calendar. That's old school.
Yeah, that's good though. I mean, whatever works for you. I think everyone has their own kind of method of trying to stay organized in a crazy world. So that's good if that works for you.
Yeah, you would get nauseous to look at my calendar. But
I'm sure. So voiceover is a tough industry to break into. There are lots of people who want to do it and a lot of people already in it. What would you say that your advice would be to those who are just trying to get their foot or feet in the door?
I jokingly wrote don't. But no, but if you have a passion for it, just like I have my passion, I have to come home and I have to get in front of the computer and play with sound. That's my passion. So if you, at a young age, did acting and did voices and things, and this was your passion, then definitely go for it. get evaluated by someone like myself or many others out there who could listen to your read and say, and I've said it to people, I don't hear it. You know, people come here and spend 2 hours with me and they struggle with their reading maybe, and then they say to me, so what do you think? And I say, well, you were here, right? I mean, it didn't go so smoothly. But if you have reading issues, either try to get them fixed, or realize that if you can't read smoothly, if you can't read with this is the biggest tool in your voiceover toolbox. I hope that comes out correct and not backwards. But if you can't smile and read, that's not going to help you. So even early on, practice, and everybody thinks they're smiling because they're thinking happy thoughts, you know, but if you have to be, we'll hear it. We'll hear if your face is in a different shape, and we'll hear when you're smiling. So as long as you don't have reading difficulties, I say to some of the people coming in, when was the last time you went to the eye doctor? Because I want them to have the best ability to the best reading experience. So, you know, go to the eye doctor, make sure your reading is good.
Yeah, definitely. Those are all really good. That's all really good advice. I think that there are a lot of people that think, oh, I can read, so I can be a voice actor, and there's really so much more to it. And I think that that's something really important for people to know, is that just because you can read well doesn't necessarily mean
it's not reading.
There's so much more to it.
And improv and acting, you have to be able to take the script. I know some people say don't, you know, if you're doing TV, don't improv. If you're doing radio, I mean, I don't know I don't think there's a rule. Bring something of yourself. So if you throw in a little phrase in the middle, or a little laugh that's not in there, not scripted, or something in the front, a little pre-read, and leave it on there, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So let's talk about New York and the East Coast market in particular, since that's where we are. Do you think that there are certain genres of voiceover that people book more work in if they're based in, say, like New York or New Jersey area?
It's very interesting. I know in California, they really still like you to come in for auditions, and also need a home studio, because depending on the client. But if you have a real agent, they want to see you, or if you're doing animation, they want to see you, that's for sure. And there's still a little bit of it in New York, but for the most part, there's commercial, there's a little bit of animation, and then gaming and e-learning you can do from anywhere. You know, it's wherever the clients are, since we're now all internet-based and worldwide, you know, not even national. So there's still some casting people and agencies in Manhattan and New Jersey. I would say the proximity, it's the reason I bought this house, was there's a bus on my corner that takes me into Port Authority.
Right.
So Jersey would be the proximity if you actually get called in. And there's all those social things in the city that we have to go to. APAC is coming in 2 weeks or whatever it is. So there's certainly commercial and really anything on camera. There's plenty of on-camera work in New York City. So
cool. So okay, let's talk home studios, because that's an area that everyone needs help with for the most part. Obviously, you're a pro when it comes to this stuff. Everyone needs a good home studio now. Can you break it down for us as to what's needed to make it into a great space to record?
So there's mainly two different aspects, or three aspects. One being, it has to be quiet. It can't be on a busy street where we just hear a lot of traffic. They do make window inserts that can, you know, lessen those noises. So that's soundproofing. Then there's sound treatment. There's acoustic treatment. What does the room sound like when you talk in the room? Does it bounce off your ceiling? do you have a whisper room or a Studio Bricks? You don't need a Studio Bricks, especially if you're in a quiet spot. One of my student friends, I got her basement sounding just great. Had a little bit of noise. We tamed that. And then she spent, I don't want to tell you how much, but she bought a Studio Bricks. And yeah, the noise floor was less, but it took a lot of work to get that booth sounding as good as we had the basement sounding. So it has to be a good sounding room.
Right.
And then thirdly is the equipment. And I know that's like part B, right?
Right.
Coming up on your list.
Coming up on part B.
So room acoustics and also in your space, people say, oh, I have a closet. If you can't do the physicality of the acting because you're going to crash into the wall, or you've got it sideways and there's no front to back, you need some room to move in there.
Yeah.
To do the physical acting. You have to, and you newcomers, you beginners out there, you have to move, you have to act. And I talk with my hands all the time. Get into the habit. I can't tell you the specific choreography, but just what I'm doing, it just comes naturally. Okay, so B.
Yes.
Equipment.
So part B, let's see. How about essential equipment? Do you recommend any specific microphones? Everyone has different voice types, so I know this can be tricky, but are there any mics that you love, and if so, why?
All right, start with the basics. Anybody coming to me in the beginning, I tell them a Rode, R-O-D-E, NT1, not the 1A, which they like to sell a lot of. The 1A is thinner sounding than the 1. So especially if you have a fuller voice, the 1 is going to keep some of that fullness. And then as an interface, I know everybody's got a Scarlett 2i2, but the 2i2s, I've seen the drivers become corrupt too frequently especially when Windows 10 does an update and all that. So I have a Steinberg, I have a UR22 because I do use the 2 channels for other purposes, but Steinberg UR12 is like the Scarlett Solo.
Okay.
And then, yes, a mic stand, a pop filter, a music stand. I like the Manhasset music stand. Then you have to put a towel on it so it doesn't ring. And the microphone that I really like, okay, so here's the other things about microphones. I love the Neumann 102. And everybody's heard of the 103.
Mm-hmm.
And I find the 103 a little dark sounding, even everybody else will say, oh no, it's very bright. It's very bright. But there's for me, my ear, there's a darkness to it. And the other mic that everybody's all excited about is the Sennheiser 416.
Mm-hmm.
Now the 416 is a very, as a hypercardioid, meaning very directional. So you can't be moving around too much off axis. Okay. Number one. Number two, they call it like the promo mic or the in-your-face mic. So anybody who has to listen for a long time, like e-learning or audiobooks, especially audiobooks, you can't use the 416. Everybody wants one and everybody's heard all about it. Okay, yeah, fine. Have it. Use it for auditions. Maybe use it for commercials and use it for promo or character work. I'm sure it's fine because it's in your face. The character is in your face. Okay. But e-learning, it's like to listen to somebody for a half hour with in-your-face audio quality. I don't think it would be a pleasant, especially audiobooks, if you've got earbuds in and somebody's in your face.
Got it.
So the Neumann 102, which is half the price of the 103 anyway. Well, some other mics that I like, I have a lot of different microphones because when people come here for their killer demos, with every script, I like to change microphones so they have every recording has a little different sonic. My go-to mic is a AKG 414 EB, which is a more vintagey one. I have the CAD E100S, which I like. It's a little smoother. I have one of the Audio Technicas, I think a 4047 or something like that. I have, as I said, the NT1. And one of my favorite mics is an MXL 990. And I bought it for $50 on a stupid deal of the day. And it's very good for certain things.
Oh,
My 10th grade English teacher is actually using it to record audiobooks. And I'll tame it down a little because it's a little bright. Okay.
there's anything else you think, do you think there's anything else that an actor needs in their studio to be successful and competitive with others who have home studios? Because the microphones and the acoustic treatment, the space obviously are most important, but beyond that, is there anything else?
Well, you need decent headphones for editing, not for recording. On a directed session, obviously you have to wear headphones, but you can put one on and one off so that you can hear yourself. I'm not a big fan of recording with headphones. There are arguments for both sides. I need to hear when I make a click and all that crazy. And radio people, they're so used to it. But a beginner wearing headphones, my theory is if the headphones are too soft, you might project too much. And if they're too loud, you might not project the right amount. And as simple as it is that you would adjust your headphone volume for it to be comfortable.
Right.
So good headphones, pop filter. The other thing about the pop filter is the mic placement. If the mic is over here and I'm speaking this way, there are no plosives, yes, you should have the pop filter anyway. Phone patch. I have a legit phone patch that cost me $1,500 back in the day, but I think you can get away with your hands free. If you have good cell phone service, you can just have your cell phone in the booth and just put your headset on and just do it that way. They don't need to be hearing your microphone. They're probably on a speakerphone on their end anyway, so they're not judging quality. You're recording at your end, and you're going to send them a WAV file or an MP3, whatever they ask for, so that they're getting full quality right from your microphone.
Right. I've done that before. I've been on a directed session where they've just done a phone patch where I literally just had them on speakerphone, and then they would just mute themselves when I was recording.
Right.
And they would just unmute when I was done to give direction. So that worked really well.
As long as they're good about muting and unmuting, because sometimes they start talking amongst themselves and that gets into your recording. But yeah, speakerphone can work as long as somebody's doing it right.
Yeah.
I had one new student who, when I looked at the sound file, her S's were so loud. Okay, and we have plugins with de-essers and things, but I said, if you're doing a live directed session and they're hearing that, they're not going to like it. So I actually recommended for somebody with a big sibilance problem, some sort of vocal strip. And in this case, it was the DBX 286, whatever the current one is, S. I have an A, and just use the de-esser, and maybe a little compressor. I don't believe in noise gates or the enhancements, that the other things, just the de-esser, and it cut it down 75% so that she can do a live. Water.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Always have to have that.
Yeah.
Great. That's a lot of really good information. So can you tell us a little bit about your coaching methods and what types of coaching you offer?
I produce killer demos. I can produce in any genre. I primarily do direct for commercial, and I guess Everett would say East Coast commercial because he's a West Coast guy. And more these days, if somebody comes to me for an e-learning demo, yeah, I can do the e-learning demo, but I want them to first coach with somebody like Julie Williams or Ann Gambuza or Christy Bowen or Kim Handysides. There, I've said them all, because that's their that's their specialty, is coaching in those genres. Animation, Everett Oliver and I just co-directed Andy Danish's character demo. And between the two of us, because we direct, I've been told I direct more on a technical level. Maybe it's more building blocks and more basics of voiceover, and then he's pulling the performance out.
Yeah.
So it was a good, and if I do an audiobook demo, I do that with Carol Monda. So I like to co-direct,
Yeah.
if at all possible.
Those are great. It's great to know some really good people to work with that you co-direct with for specific genres, because I think a lot of people have questions about.
And then I get to produce the demo anyway. So yeah. And the production is the music and effects and the mixing and mastering and the sonic qualities that make it sound like real commercials and real cartoons or real gaming.
Yeah, I obviously, I did my commercial demo with you, and that actually has gotten me a lot of work. Most of the work that I booked has been off of my commercial demo rather than my narration. But and I loved that experience. I loved working with you on that because it's so personalized, and that's what I loved about it. Is that I knew that I could trust the feedback that you were giving me, and I think that's so important when an actor is working with a coach and a producer, is that they need to feel like they're given direction in a way that they're able to, apply it. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, and I'm just overly honest about, I don't, if somebody doesn't have it or if it's not working, and we say, let's try another script, maybe just to move on and get something done. What I loved about your first spot on your demo, for those who haven't heard it, is we've got 3 characters going on at the same time. We've got mom and a daughter and a younger daughter singing a song that you used to sing with your dad, right?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So so right off the bat, your first spot, and that's the thing about demos, the first spot has to grab them. So immediately you hear the first spot, you know what you're getting. And then we did show range. We had teenager on there and, other younger female characters.
Yeah, and I think that for my commercial demo, because my voice is so particular and specialized.
Unique.
Yes. Is that I liked the way that we took a commercial demo and still added a lot of character to it, because that's mainly what I'm going to book, and what I book is character-based work. And so it didn't make sense to make it into something that wasn't representative of who I am,
Right. But also your personality came out a lot. I mean, I want to know who you are when I listen to it. I want to hear you. Who is this? It's not just, just funny voices or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
And since you came to me, there's 3 ways to work with me. One is the Killer Demo Adventure, as branded by Mark Scott, because he came here and we did Chinatown, we did WoHop, and we did all those things. And he said, well, coming to you, it's an adventure. We're not just walking out with a demo. We had a lot of fun. So you did the same thing. You came up here. We did fun stuff. And then second way, which is almost as fun, is people fly me to their place. I fix their home studio. We record their demo there. And that's fun too. And the third way, we do it remotely like we're doing right now. It's not my favorite because I like to edit the takes right away and then line them up and play them and make sure we got what we got.
Yeah. So. I definitely, I'm supposed to be working on I am working on my animation demo with Everett right now.
Oh, cool. And well, you know who's producing it, right?
You, obviously. Yes.
Yeah.
We've already talked about this, but we're still working on getting it all ready and everything like that. But I know that I feel really confident that when I go for that experience of, getting it recorded and things like that and produced, that it's going to be great experience. And I've worked on it for such a long time that I really want it to be special. So I'm excited about that. So if you guys are out there and you're looking for a demo producer, Uncle Roy is definitely one of the best out there. So the experience is, you can't beat it. It's really, there's hardly anyone else in this industry that will spend that much time with you to get, you know, what you need to have a killer demo, basically, you know.
And you've recovered from the wounds, you know, from the being black and blue, because we beat people up a little bit to try and get the really good performance out.
Yeah.
Andy Danish was pretty black and blue. Well, can you imagine Everett and I? Because, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know from my coaching sessions with Everett that are remote over the phone, you know, or
Pretty
over
intense, right?
Zoom. They're intense, yeah. And I feel exhausted after, but in a good way, you know, because he really wants to pull the best out of you. And if you're not giving him what you're supposed to be giving, then he tells you what to work on. And it's constructive criticism, but it's and both of you do this. It's done in a way that's not, it's not, you know how some people, they like make you feel bad about it if they're giving you constructive criticism, and you guys, I don't feel like you do that. I feel like it's done in a way that is nicer, so that you're like, okay, this is what I need to improve on, and it's constructive, but it's not malicious.
Right. No, well, we're here to help you, not to hurt you,
not to break you down, right?
And you can't give your best performance if you feel like somebody just punched you in the head or something.
Right.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. No, we're kind-hearted, and we're fun, and we're funny, but we're gonna get that read out of you. And as Everett likes to say, I don't give no line reads. But sometimes you get to the point that it's like, all right, we have it in our head. There was one line that we gave Andy Danish, and I made a little audio outtake out of it, of me giving the read, Everett giving the read, and Andy giving the read. It's just, it's very cute. Anyway,
that's great.
Andy's a good boy.
He is. So how would you say, I mean, we've talked a lot about demos, which was my next question, obviously, that ties into coaching, but if you're going to look for a demo producer and you want to make sure that your demo is not going to be overproduced, do you think that it's sufficient enough to just go to that person's website, obviously, and listen to their production of what they've put out there, so that you know what they're like, talk to the person, see what their style is? What else would you say people need to do before they choose someone to produce their demo?
It's very tricky, because there's 3 or 4 or 5 demo mills out there with big names and on Facebook presence and all kinds of stuff. And unfortunately, Mark Scott and I every day get somebody sends us a demo from one of these places and says, and they say, I'm not booking. Well, your demo's not marketable. And they paid $6,000. You know, they paid a lot of money for coaching and demos, numerous demos. And you really can't go by the price, because I think the average price for a commercial demo is $2,500, maybe a little less, but not really. Mm-hmm. And then coaching and scripts and all those things. So it adds up. So especially the beginners have to be, yes, go listen to my demos, go listen to Cliff's demos, go listen to Jay Michael's demos, go listen to Chuck's demos, all the legit demo producers.
Right.
Listen to their stuff. Is it entertaining? Is it funny? Does it make you want to listen to the whole thing? Or are we going to go next? Now, what else you got? And people who have been in the business 3 or 4 decades. I mean, I've been producing demos for at least 30 years. Somebody like Cliff, who produces automotive spots every day, real spots. And so I used to do TV and radio spots every day, and monthly promo stuff, and have mixed many documentaries and done film scores. I mean, we'll get into that later, the other hats that I wear.
Mhm.
So I can produce a promo demo because I used to produce promos. So the demos are just, just good examples of that.
Right.
So yeah, be very careful. I don't want to say don't buy a package from the demo mills. Don't buy a package, but I know Julie Williams does sell a package, and she's a very good coach and very good demo director. And then she sends me the files, and I do my thing. So try to listen to everybody's stuff and listen and say, okay, does that sound marketable? And sometimes it's that the talent wasn't ready. I know that's on your list somewhere.
Yeah.
Talent has to be ready, and you and your coach will both know when you're ready. If you can connect to the script, and that's like the most important thing. If when you tell me, I believe you because you sound confident and you sound like you know what you're talking about. Julie Williams was saying about medical demos, medical narration, or medical narration in general. It's not about the fancy words. It's about the storytelling and making it sound like you know what you're talking about, even when you don't. And,
Right.
So same thing with anything. Same thing with any of these genres. Commercial. I believe that you're that teenager on that
Right.
spot. Jenny, what are you wearing, or whatever that spot was.
That was great. I love that one.
And it just sounds believable to me. Or if I listen to Mark Scott's demo, I like that demo, even though it's time for an upgrade, an update rather. I believe it sounds believable. So they have to sound like real spots.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
So, what advice, I love this question. What advice can you give to voice talents who may be, let's say, technologically challenged? What I mean is, they love the actual voiceover work. They're great at it. They have a lot of training in different genres of voiceover. But when it comes down to the technical side, they're kind of clueless. They just know the bare minimum to get by. Do they still have a shot at making it in the industry with enough upgrade training? Could they get the skills they need to not have to rely on an audio engineer 24/7?
When I teach Adobe Audition or Audacity, I'm a very patient educator, I think. And I have numerous people who, some of it is that they think they're technologically challenged when really the way I teach it, just follow the list, A, B, C, D, just do it.
Right.
You don't, whether you want, and I explain it so that I think they're going to understand it, but if they don't understand what noise floor is and noise reduction and high pass filters, so I explain it. And it even if you're technologically challenged or don't get it, if you had Audacity and just recorded and I set up a high pass filter and then you normalize it to -3 and then you send it in, that's going to be enough for somebody who doesn't get all the other stuff, compression, de-essing, all that stuff. And if you don't need it, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Right.
So you can still audition and get broadcast quality, even if you don't understand it. I can teach it. Others can teach it too. But you shouldn't be intimidated. Don't hide behind, I don't audition because I record and then I don't know what to do.
Right.
You put your high pass filter, you normalize to -3, and then you don't worry about it. You send it in and let anybody else do the rest.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people, I understand what I need to know to put out a good audition. You know what I mean? But there's a lot more that I need to know that I just need the training on. And that is after being in the industry for years and having had a little bit of training here, a little bit of training there to get what I need. I think a lot of people starting out that don't know anything are very intimidated by it because it's unless you take some training and have someone sit down with you, if you're not an audio engineer, you might not know anything about it. You know what I mean? Like when I first started, I was like, I have no idea. I had to have someone come in and be like, this is exactly what you need to know.
You know what else is
put out an audition.
You know what else is the problem? All of these YouTube videos where you have people who dabble,
right,
and put stuff out there, and then everybody's watching. So I got that. I just had somebody book in, like, I've been watching these YouTube videos and now I'm really confused. Let me just show you. There's just too much out there, and a lot of times it's a musician who's playing with Audacity or playing with Logic or playing with GarageBand.
Right.
Those are not good. Logic and GarageBand, for my money, are not good platforms for voiceover. So even Audacity's better. If I set up keyboard shortcuts in Audacity, it'll go quicker, and whatever else you need. I can make enough tools even in Audacity, even though I'm a big Adobe Audition supporter and educator, even though that's my favorite. I've been using that since it was Cool Edit 96. Does that go back 3 decades? No, what goes back 3 decades, kids, is this. That's what 4 decades.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I just happen to have it handy because I transfer tapes for people, who still.
Wow. Yeah.
That's fun.
That's cool.
So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of technology. I'll help you.
Yeah. I think, that was my next question, was about Adobe Audition. I've heard a number of people that have taken your class and have said a lot of really good things about it. So that would be your go-to program for editing, right?
It is. And I should have set up a little show and tell, like a before and after, because you can really get it to broadcast quality. I mean, if your performance, if you're not, if your levels drift, there's ways to it. The best way to fix anything, a mouth click, a breath, is to try and, a plosive, is to try and fix it, live in performance, or to get your noise floor down, have a quiet space that doesn't have, or you don't have your or the furnace didn't come on or whatever. But it has all the tools. It has de-essers, compressors. It has everything, and I show you step by step. I have like a 13-step program.
Wow.
And the one big advantage that Adobe Audition has, well, two advantages. Number one, it has auto heal, which cures mouth noises on an individual basis. I have RX7 to put over everything else to get most of the clicks out.
Wow.
So in an audio book, my friend Marie Hoffman, she used to be able to do 3 chapters in a day if she worked all day long just to get her mouth clicks out. And I put it in RX and ran it through. It took 2.5 minutes. I sent it back, and she said, "Oh my God, I have my life back." So
That's
it's a
great.
RX 6 or 7 or whatever you have, not Elements, but the standard has a thing called mouth noise declick, and that's the one. And it runs. There's 2 ways they have it in Adobe. You can pull it into Adobe Audition, or it has a freestanding editor, which I never use because it's in Adobe. So I just do it. I just do it right there.
Sounds good. So you don't have to know Pro Tools. Yeah.
No, I was forced to, and used Pro Tools for many years because my first workstation was an SSL Screen Sound, which was a wireless pen and a tablet, and that was it was great. But it was $100,000 box, which now we have free Audacity that blows it away.
Right.
And so when that stopped working, they said, "Okay, you got to learn Pro Tools." So Pro Tools was great for radio production, for documentaries, for anything, mostly music. But I am a diehard Adobe guy, and I just have my shortcuts, and I just make it fly the same way Cliff would make Pro Tools fly, because that's his platform. So PC versus Mac, it's whatever you're comfortable on. The Mac people want to say you have to have a Mac. Um, you don't have to have anything. Everything runs. Each platform has its quirkiness. Mac, every time there's an upgrade in operating system, then some stuff stops working. Christy Horst, her Dropbox stopped working because she was on Maverick. Then we updated to High Sierra, and then her Adobe Audition didn't want to work, so
Mhm.
it was always something with, and she's on a Mac. That's the Mac problem. And PCs, we're stuck with Windows 10. I'm still on 7, and they're going to stop supporting it in January or something, which is going to be terrible. Let's have a riot. Let's have a protest, a friendly riot, a peaceful riot, and try to keep Windows 7 alive.
Yeah, definitely. They keep upgrading everything, and you're right. Then all this other stuff stops working, and you're like, great, now I have to either upgrade or, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Pro Tools and that's what works for you, that's great. But watch me edit for 10 minutes on Adobe and see if you feel the same,
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about your goals. What are 2 or 3 goals that you have for yourself that you'd like to accomplish in 2019?
I might need an assistant, either a virtual assistant or, back in the day, I had a full-time assistant who was making really a lot of money. I can't afford it. And these days, there are plenty of young people who can do your social media and all those things, but that would help me stay organized.
Yeah.
I need somebody to brainstorm with. I'm here by myself, So one thing would be, and it's some sort of assistant. Julie Williams has her twin sister working as her assistant. That's a pretty funny scenario. I love music recording, so I would like to do more music recording projects. And my passion in music recording, besides my stepson P.D. Brody, is recording 1920s and 30s music, which is my friend's band Vince Giordano and the Nighthawks. Being more organized and being busier. Mark Scott is my great cheerleader, and he sends all his tech things to me. Julie Williams sends me all of her demos now. So every year you reinvent yourself. It's like, okay, what else can I do? And now who am I? And
right.
And I have this will be my 14th annual VO BBQ, my 2-day party with nonstop live music and all that.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the biggest and best one. I know this isn't about my barbecue, but
no, tell us the dates for it though, because
October 5th and 6th, you're all invited, and I get a block of discount rooms at the local La Quinta on Route 3 in Clifton. Some people stay at the luxurious VO B&B, which is my house. George and Dan stayed here last year in the attic, and
nice.
I think Andy Danish and Dave Toback, they stayed here. That's just part of my branding and marketing. The VO BBQ and all that.
Yeah, it's a great event. It's a lot of fun. I love when I get to go to that because you get to just sort of see everybody that you don't get to see on a regular basis, because not everyone lives close to each other. So, I mean, obviously the people in New York, New Jersey probably see each other more than people that live outside of that area. But I think what was so great about last year was, I went into the city. I flew into the city, stayed there, and then I kind of Ubered out to your house, which was an experience in itself. But but it was so great to see everyone, and you just end up having these conversations with people for hours and hours, before you know it, it's midnight, and you're like, okay, I've literally been here for like 12 hours now, and it's fine. But it doesn't seem like that. It always is so much fun, and I love what you do with that. It's such a nice event that you put on.
it's because I'm old school and I'm all about people and I genuinely care. I think I care about you and I care about my friends, especially the ones that I'm very close to that I see on a frequent basis, but the ones who I don't see on a frequent basis except on Facebook. And that's the other thing. Well, we'll get into that one. So I just want to bring, the old school recording session with voiceovers was in my last studio experience. I had my own Uncle Roy's coffee, and I would bring Danish and fruit and bagels and all that. And the client isn't worried about, is the job going to come out okay? I mean, yes, of course, because of who I am that way, but it's who do you want to hang out with?
Yeah.
So it's just a big hangout. The music goes till it's too loud and late, and then we come inside and sing Broadway show tunes till midnight. And then at 3 a.m. I say lights out.
Yeah.
And then the next day they come back for bagels and all that from 11 to 5. So there was the ad. There was the commercial for the barbecue.
Yeah. Well,
Michael will be here, and Hugh Edwards from Gravy from the Brain says he's coming to play drums. Crazy.
yeah.
And all the Canadians come down, so now it's the international VOBBQ.
Oh, it's totally international. I couldn't believe how many people showed up last year. It was crazy. I had to miss the year before that because of something going on, but I was so glad to be able to go back. I hope I can make it this year.
Oh, you can make it. Don't make me come down and get you. I will.
I'll be there. I'll do my best.
Okay, I know you will.
So we've talked about the barbecue, but what are you working on now that you're excited about and allowed to tell us about? Is there anything?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of non-disclosure things, like a lot of voiceover people do. Well, over the last 2 years, I had some audiobook projects with my 10th grade English teacher, which is a hoot.
Yeah.
Because now who's directing? He used to direct me in the school shows. And now who's directing who? And now who's the English teacher? Because I catch him on all kinds of stuff.
That's fun.
So last year we were nominated for an Audie and Voice Arts Awards. This year we didn't make not the naughties. We didn't make the Audies. And I have 7 submissions to the Voice Arts Award, the Sovas Voice Arts Award. I have Lila's promo demo, Lila's character demo, Andy Danish's character demo, and then the audio book. It's a children's book. So we have children's, author, narrator, sound designer, and producer.
Nice.
So we'll say, if I'm nominated, that's good enough.
That's what they always say, right?
And I think we are gonna enter for a Grammy because, the Emmy is lonely and needs like a Grammy to sit next to it. So
Great. That's so great.
I only have one. There were other awards back there, but I only have one Emmy. You only need one.
You only need one.
Cam has 3, I think.
Tell us what the Emmy was for.
1992. I hate to say it's that far back. CBS Sports, for the Olympics, there was a bobsled event, and there was a little interstitial, like a little 4-minute cartoon that they did about the bobsled. So I did the sound design, and I was working at a studio, and then I changed studios after I did this, but I was still phoning in for my messages, and I said, any messages? And she said, oh yeah, your Emmy is ready. And I said, what Emmy? What are you talking about? I saved the little pink operator's message that says your Emmy is ready. And then the FedEx man showed up with the Emmy.
Wow.
CBS Sports entered it, and it happened to win. So, okay.
That's amazing. That's so exciting. Like, do you ever just like stand in your office and give your speech?
No.
You should.
Stand in my office and do what?
Do your speech, your acceptance.
Oh, my speech.
Emmy.
Well,
Yeah.
I have to thank my parents, for my father for putting the headphone jack in, and that's where it came from. I have to thank the Academy and thank the whole voiceover community. Well, if we win for that, yeah, funny.
stuff you got to think about, you
The
know?
more nominations is on the goal for 2019. Hope so us whenever they release the nominations.
Yeah,
Be part 2 of this interview.
definitely.
Where I
Part
parade around and give my speech.
two. Cool. So, what would you say some of your greatest challenges and also your greatest successes have been? I mean, obviously the Emmy is a big success, but have you had any major challenges that you would say?
I wouldn't say it's well, I mean, in some ways, I guess it was a challenge because to go from analog to digital when I did, because we were so fast at cutting tape with a razor blade and building spots on a multi-track tape recorder that when they gave me the screen sound, I with every session, I thought, do I really need this computer? Isn't that going to slow me down? Because
Yeah.
I was in the middle of the learning curve. So, but I made a darn good transition into, obviously running Adobe Audition and all that and Pro Tools.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a challenge, but only the switchover was the challenge. It's not that I couldn't do it. Just wanted to be able to do it fast. Constantly reinventing myself, as ebb and flow with work. And now some people are hitting me up to help with podcasts.
Mhm.
And I do children's theater where I put body mics on the kids. And I prep music for dance competition and dance recitals, which is coming up in June. So the many hats is somewhat of and the juggling act of all of this, besides my being involved with the town as chair of the Bloomfield Cultural Commission and trustee at the Oakside Manor, which is the event coming up later today. In case you want to go to a taste of Bloomfield, hey, that's after I finish with Squacky, and the Bloomfield Cruisers. I drive a 1938 Plymouth, so it's just a lot of juggling, and I'm here by myself. I'm alone, so
Yeah. That is definitely challenging. I know, right? Definitely smile.
Just keep smiling and don't make eye contact. Just smile and smile and wave.
But you've had some really great successes too. I mean, challenging is, yes, like you said, wearing all the hats that you do. But I feel like you're so passionate about what you do and you love it so much that even though it can be challenging at times, I feel like the successes that you have are the barbecue and the amount of demos that you produce, and that people know that you're the go-to guy for, Adobe Audition and many other things, and I also think that there are the voiceover community as a whole is a lot of great people, but I think that when I personally think of who are some of the best people that I've met and that I trust and that are my go-to people over the years, you're definitely at the top of that list. I think that if people haven't had the chance to meet you and work with you, they definitely should, because it's a lot to trust someone like that. You're putting into someone's hands something that's either going to help you to book work or not book work. You're trusting someone to coach you on a software program that can be complicated if you don't understand what you're doing, and for you to break it down for people in a way that they're able to understand it, and to be patient when a lot of people wouldn't be patient for someone who doesn't get what they're doing. It's just a lot. So I really think that I would think that those would be some of your greatest successes.
The voice being that well liked in the voiceover community, and why 150 people are going to come here in October. It's not because they don't like me. But other successes, if you go to my IMDb page, there's my whole other career of film score recording that I'd done in the biggest one being I did all the Woody Allen film score recording from 1982 to 2005. So I had a pretty good run with that, whether you knew it or not. And some other films like Biloxi Blues. I got to record Peggy Lee. Got to record a lot of celebrities. A lot of I had Dom DeLuise, who was Itchy in All Dogs Go to Heaven. I did a lot of that dialogue recording, and BB Newworth, who was Annabella and Belladonna and her evil twin Belladonna. I recorded Christopher Plummer. A lot of celebrities.
Yeah, that must be really interesting and fun to do, working with all those celebrities. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? They're just people. Most of them did have a sort of not a run-in with Christopher Plummer, but the director likes to say, I almost killed Christopher Plummer. But it just sounds good that way, but it's not. He was just being difficult, that's all.
Yeah, I definitely think working with celebrities is an interesting experience, and I think that you do learn after a little bit that they're just regular people for the most part, but they just sometimes have higher demands than others.
When I met Joan Rivers, I gave her my father's line, which is, "What part of Brooklyn did you grow up in?" Which he would say, which he said to Sean Connery, which he said to anybody, what part of Brooklyn did you grow up? But of course, she did grow up in Brooklyn, so we became friends. And she was the complete opposite of what you would think Joan Rivers would be. I mean, that's what was out there was her persona,
Right.
and not the real her. And she was an extremely accommodating professional, and wanted to make sure that you, the director or engineer, whatever, that you were happy with what was going on. And she took direction and everything. So she was she was a good person.
Yeah, what an amazing actress. She's really fun.
Yeah.
So let's talk about social media. How do you feel about it, and what are your favorite platforms to use and why?
If I leave Facebook open, chances are somebody's going to see me and say, "Hey, my microphone's not working," or my playback, I can't hear my speakers, or whatever. So it turns into either mini jobs or maxi jobs. So Facebook for me, and it's so weird because I have an Antland Productions business page, but I really don't use it. Because, again, I'm about people. So let people come to my Facebook page and see that it's Bagel Thursday or whatever's going on. And then it's tricky because I put I'll screen capture you and I'll put it up there. Hey, be sure to look out for the next Squacky interview, thing. And I'll put that up there, and then the Bloomfield Cruisers are having a pig roast next week, and then that pushes it down. So it gets tricky juggling that. And I do like LinkedIn because I get an email saying so-and-so wants to connect, or so-and-so messaged you. So I like that. I don't do enough Twitter, and I really still trying to figure out Instagram.
Yeah.
Liz DeNezrina showed me once, but I need a refresher on. And then, so when we posted, she said, "Okay, let's take a selfie and let's post it." And then she said, "You got 900 followers," but I had nothing up on there. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and same thing with Twitter. I have a lot of people out there, but I don't do enough.
Yeah, you need like a social media manager.
There, see, yeah. I need that virtual assistant.
Yep.
Anyone who wants to
apply
for the job.
Yeah, if you want to apply for a job.
That's right. If you want to be part of Antland Productions.
Yeah.
Email me.
I mean, obviously Facebook is a great platform to get to reach a lot of people, and it can be very personalized, and I like that about it. I'm not a huge Facebook fan anymore. My go-to like Instagram and Twitter, basically.
I've seen your tweets. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, Twitter is more like you can reach a ton of people really fast and in a small amount of, like words, which was challenging at first on Twitter when I first started on it, and it was less, characters that you could put on there, and it was like
109 or something like that.
What do I want to say? And then okay, you're over by So
by
you
three.
right? And then you have to narrow it down and take out a few exclamation points, usually is what it is for me, and over punctuate. But yeah, and I think Instagram, a few minutes spent on it and you would figure it out. It's really just about the content that you put out there and making it very specific to your brand and who you are as a company. And I have like a personal one for me as a voice actor, but then I also have like me as Mid-Atlantic voiceover. So I keep them separate, So one is a private account. I don't let everybody on my personal one, and then my business page. And I think that way you can kind of figure out, it's been sort of what is my brand going to be? Figure it out and then stick to it. Don't ever veer from it. If you start posting random stuff on Instagram, people lose interest in what the message you're trying to get across.
So you have to keep up with it.
It's a very daily kind of a scenario. If you stop posting on Instagram, just like any other platform, you start to lose people because they're like, oh, this person's not. But I also think it depends on who you are and how well known you are in the industry. Like for me, my company is small and, people know what it is, but it might not be as, well known as you and you as Antland Productions. So I think it's an easier time out there. Yeah.
I think Mavo is really growing and has grown, and I've only heard really good things from the people who were there and about the people who were there, about the coaches who you have there. So I'm very proud of you for that.
Oh, thanks.
I haven't heard anything bad. It's and the fact that it's small, people do like that. I mean, I do VO Atlanta, and that was over 750, and that was great for what that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And right now they're having Wovo Minicon right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to put them all out there, I'm doing this voiceover, this Long Island voiceover takeover, June 1st for you Long Islanders.
Nice.
I'm doing VO North. I think you said are you doing that?
I'm trying to go to that, yes.
Yeah, so that's
in place. I'll be there.
Up in Toronto. I'm not doing One Voice, which is over in Europe. And I'm probably not doing the Voice Arts Award that whole weekend with That's Voiceover. And I mean, I guess if I have 4 nominations or 7, I could go. We'll see. They were supposed to alternate coasts. So last year was in LA. So we all assumed New York City this year, and I think they like the Hollywood style, the Warner Brothers Theater, and then they said in the streets they're serving champagne and desserts and stuff. And I think in New York City we were jammed into 2 rooms. And it was noisy and whatever. So I think they like that California style better.
Yeah, it seems to suit them well. I mean, obviously they live in New York, but I've never been to that event, but I've always heard really great things about it. I know Joan and Rudy put a great event together, and they put their heart and soul into it. So there's so many events out there now. They just keep popping up everywhere. So you really have to, with Mavo, with Mid-Atlantic Voiceover, it's, as the organizer for it, you really have to say, like, I'm going to stick to my brand. I'm going to keep it small. And it would be easy to say, like, I'm just going to make it a bigger event. I'm going to try to grow it. But a little bit of growth is what I'm looking for. But I don't ever want it to be more than 125 is really.
Yeah, but your growth has been in content and in defining really great content. That's
absolutely.
It's really.
We'll definitely be consistent with that in 2020. So our next event is November 6th through 8th of 2020, and
we're gonna celebrate my birthday. Mine's November 5th.
Yes, we'll celebrate your birthday.
Okay.
And
day after.
Event. Yeah. So, but tell us everyone can find you on Facebook, right? And
yes.
tell us your Twitter handle so that people can.
Twitter is at Antland.
Okay.
Um,
And your website, just so
my
people.
website is www.antlandproductions.com.
Great.
You can go to that killer demo page. You know, that's a good place. I don't remember if yours wound up on the killer demo page. I think that happened after your demo was. I should put it up there because because it's good and it showcases some characters within commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, thanks so much for joining us on the show today and all the valuable information that you provided. And,
Oh, you're welcome. I hope
everybody go check out antlandproductions.com and get in touch with Uncle Roy if
you can
demo or coaching.
You can get me at antlandprods at AOL.com, shamefully, AOL, antlandprods. Or if I put on my big boy pants, it's antlandproductions at gmail.com. So I do have Gmail. So antlandproductions at Gmail.
Great.
All right.
Thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. All right, you got it.